I'm going to be talking about how I would spend $10,000 per month on Google Ads for a service business. This is going to be a high level strategic breakdown of how I would allocate the budget to specific types of campaigns. Now, it's going to be high level because I don't know exactly what business you're in, but assuming that you are a service based business and your goal is to generate as many leads or form submissions from your website or landing page from Google, then this video is going to be specific to you. Now, if you're spending $10,000 a month currently, and you maybe have an agency and you're not really sure if they're really using the right strategic approach, or maybe you're doing it yourself and you don't know if it's really maximizing the results, or maybe you're seeing that it's not getting great results, look through this framework that I've put together and for this video on how I would go ahead and break down the specific allocation for the different type of campaigns. Now, if you are spending in this range and would like an audit or managed services, check out the link below and I'd be more than happy to give you a consultation and talk through how I would improve your campaign performance. Now let's go ahead and take you through this. I've built out a little framework on how I would allocate the $10,000 ad budget per month. So starting from the left, this is going to be your most important campaign type. And this is assuming that we're focusing, pretty much on, Google Ads, Google search. These two areas are going to be Google search. This is going to be a little bit different, but let's focus more on the 70% of the budget allocation. So if you have a $10,000 ad budget, 70% of that per month, which is $7,000, is going towards core high intent search. What does that mean? It means that you're bidding on keywords that are pretty much what the service you have to offer. Bottom of the funnel keywords only, or BOF. So to be very explicit on the example here, the service that you have to offer plus the city you're in, service near me, service company, service provider. These are just very basic examples. You will have to do your own research to figure out what are the best bottom of the funnel keywords. But my best tip for you on this is going to be, what is the exact service that you have to offer? How do people actually search for that? And focus 70% of your budget on this area, because these people don't know about your brand yet, but they know that they need your service. They have a problem. They are solution aware and they want to get a solution. So that's why they're going to Google to try to find that. Now, moving on to the next area, which is brand. I would allocate 20% of your budget towards a brand campaign. Now, what is a brand campaign? A brand campaign is a campaign where the keywords within it are your brand name variations only. So there's going to be a lot of competitors that either intentionally or unintentionally bid on your brand name. If they unintentionally bid on your brand name, they're potentially using broad match, and their broad match keywords are matching to your brand name. And that's usually how a lot of the broad match and phrase match is behaving these days. So most of the times when competitors are bidding on, especially if you're a small business, potentially bidding on you, they're not usually intentionally doing it. They're doing it because of the way that the Google match types are set up. So from a brand protection perspective, you want to make sure that you have brand coverage. My recommendation is at least 90% impression share or 90% coverage on your branded terms. Now, you might be thinking, well, I don't think it's worth bidding on my brand because they already show up organically. Well, what's going to happen is if you don't show up, then your competitors are going to, usually unintentionally as well, and could be capturing the traffic for your specific brand. And that's traffic from your own brand equity that could be going towards someone else. So that's why I typically recommend having a 20% allocation towards brand with a manual CPC bidding strategy, separate campaign setup with a budget cap. Now, you might not need the full 20% depending on how strong your brand is and what it's going to take in order for you to hit a 90% impression share. But if you have some leftover budget and you really only need 10% of your budget to cover to get to that 90% recommended impression share, then I would take the additional 10% and put it towards the core high intent search. This is going to be your most important campaign, but this campaign for the brand is going to be able to capture the demand for your brand, whether it's intentional or not. And one other thing that I wanted to mention is that with brand, people might not necessarily convert from this core high intent search campaign right away. They might go to your website, they might go to your Instagram, to your Facebook, and all these other places to do research and then eventually come back and convert on brand. So that's why it's very important to have branded coverage. Now, the next area that I would focus your budget on is going to be on retargeting and demand capture. So what is this? Retargeting is basically reserving your ads to people that have been to your website or landing page but didn't actually take the action that you wanted them to take. So basically re-engaging past users, and you can do that through demand gen, which is what I have here, display, or YouTube. So 10% is what I would recommend for the retargeting demand capture campaign. So you could choose from demand gen, display, or YouTube. I typically recommend demand gen, and I could set up a campaign specifically to target site visitors who did not convert. You can get very specific and retarget to people, let's say, that maybe have been on one page but not another. Maybe someone that's been on your website for more than 10 minutes, or someone that's visited more than 10 pages of your website but they didn't actually convert. You can get very, very, very precise with the way that you're targeting for Google ads, but there is a minimum retargeting audience that you have to hit in order to start serving. So do keep that in mind. So basically, all in all, I would break down the budget with $7,000 towards your high intent non-branded search, about $2,000 for brand, and $1,000 for retargeting and demand capture. And depending on the performance, you'd probably want to reallocate over time, but without really knowing your performance, your specific business model or type, then this is going to be my high level strategic recommendation on how I would allocate the budget. These are all going to be separate campaign types. These two are going to be Google search, and this is going to be a demand gen, display, or YouTube campaign. So that's what I have for you in this video on how I would go about spending the 10,000 ad budget per month. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and I post videos every week about Google Ads, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.